Hello, lovelies. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there is no better way to beat the summer heat than with a cool, refreshing, super creamy iced coffee, which is why I am so excited today to be sharing iced coffee 3 delicious ways. And honestly, guys, I think you are going to love them all. This first iced coffee recipe I am going to show you is an absolute classic. It is creamy, dreamy, delicious, and the perfect way to beat the summer heat, but with a really nice caffeine kick. Now I am going to be mixing it all up in my blender. Iced coffee on ice is good, but in my humble opinion, blended iced coffees are definitely where it's at. I'm gonna get started by adding my coffee to my blender. Now for this recipe, I am using some strong brewed coffee that I just cooled overnight in the refrigerator. Of course, you can use store-bought cold brew if you want to in a recipe like this. I just go ahead and brew my own coffee, but I usually brew it about 1.5 times the strength of a traditional coffee, because I find often in iced coffees, you lose a lot of that coffee flavor, so you can afford to brew it a little bit stronger. Next, I am going to add my milk to this. So I'm using just plain whole milk in this recipe. You can really use any kind of milk that you want in this recipe. If you want it to be a little richer, you could use some cream here, or you could use some non-dairy milk if that's what you're into. Totally up to you. But the super secret ingredient for making this iced coffee so delicious is something called sweetened condensed milk. Now, if you've never heard of it, you can usually buy it in the baking aisle at your supermarket. And it's basically just a mixture of evaporated milk and sugar. So it's sort of got this really creamy consistency. It comes in a can and it's usually used in baked goods, but it's amazing when added to coffee. Now, if you can't find any sweetened condensed milk for this recipe, not to worry, you could also use a combination of just some cream and some simple syrup here instead. If you're not familiar with simple syrup, it's basically just liquid sugar. To make it, you're just mixing a little sugar and some water on the stove, and you heat it up until the sugar dissolves completely. And then when it's cooled, it's this really convenient liquid sugar that will work in iced drinks like this. The reason why you don't want to add traditional granulated sugar to an iced coffee like this is because it's not as likely to dissolve in a cold drink the way it is to dissolve in a hot drink. So simple syrup is the better option. The final step for this yummy iced coffee drink is, of course, some ice, because we want this to be nice and frosty and cold. And we're just going to get our ice into the blender. I'm gonna step back because there's a lot of splashing happening. And we will pop on the lid and give this a good blend. And oh my gosh, guys, this is ready to be enjoyed immediately. Can you think of a more refreshing way to start your day? I don't think so. Next, lovelies, for something extra decadent and ultra delicious, we are making an incredible mocha iced coffee with a little hint of sea salt. I know, right? Doesn't that just sound like something that your local coffee house should have on its menu? Now, it all starts once again with our cold coffee. I am using my strong brewed coffee. Use whatever coffee makes your heart happy. I'm going to get my milk in here as well. I've got my sweetened condensed milk. And then this time I am adding 2 special ingredients. First up, I have got some chocolate fudge sauce. So this is the kind that you add to the top of a sundae. Really, really decadent. You could also use the kind of fudge sauce that you use for chocolate milk, but the chocolate sundae stuff is extra decadent, and that's clearly what we're going for here. Next, I am also going to be adding just a touch of sea salt. So you probably know by now that chocolate and sea salt are basically a flavor match made in heaven, and adding just a touch of salt to this takes it way over the top. My final step, of course, is going to be adding my ice, trying to avoid all that splashing. Should add the ice first and then the liquid ingredients after, right? Then I'll just get my lid on top and give this a good blend. You'll see it gets nice and creamy and dreamy and delicious. You can enjoy this one just as it is in all its mocha glory, or if you wanted to take it right over the top, you always have the option to add a little whipped cream here and some chocolate shavings. Sometimes you just have to indulge a little. And finally, on today's iced coffee extravaganza, I wanted to give you a slightly healthier option if you are in the mood for a little iced coffee that doubles as breakfast. So this is actually a vanilla flavored coffee breakfast smoothie. And if you've never had a coffee smoothie before, it is the best of both worlds. You basically get your Java hit and your breakfast all in one delicious drink. It starts once again with our amazing brewed coffee. To that, I am adding my milk. Now you can use any milk you want in this recipe, totally up to you. Almond, cashew, soy, hemp, whatever suits your fancy is great. To this, I am going to be adding some vanilla flavored protein powder. If you wanted to make this chocolate flavored instead, you could use chocolate protein powder. That would be super yummy. And then for some body and some extra fiber, I also have 1 banana headed in here. So you'll notice that we're not adding any additional sweetener to this. The protein powder, of course, has some sweetener in it, and my banana is nice and ripe. So there's lots of sweetness coming from there as well. So no additional sweetener should be necessary. And then my final ingredient will be my ice right into my blender. We'll pop the lid on our blender and let this blend away until it's nice and smooth and creamy. What I love about this smoothie is that it seriously tastes like one of those fancy French vanilla iced coffees you get at the coffee house, but it's a fraction of the calories and a fraction of the price. Oh yeah. Run, don't walk to the kitchen and give this a try. In fact, I hope you'll give all of today's recipes a try. And if you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo because you know how much I love seeing your kitchen creations. Remember, all of these recipes are linked in the description box below so you can find them there. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.